if you really want to make a change, I think that I think that black people are just impressionable. We gotta get this music changed. We gotta get our representation changed because that you will be amazed at how powerful that is. We have students like they it's no more listen to music in moderation. We have some kids that they listen to it all day, every day. And when you sit here and listen to stuff all day, every day, it does influence the way you think. It just does.
Mhm.
Like
Well,
so when we sit there and we think like, oh, it's kind of like let's look at the city girls. Y'all like, oh, it's city girl code. Look at the city girls. Have we ever seen this many women popping their cooch on and thinking it's cool?
no, but I will say this: the hard part for the black community to build anything, we always have the statement that derails it every time.
What
We will say that we're not a monolith.
we are
And
not.
because we're not a monolith, we have the freedom to choose what side or what statements or what things that we agree with and don't agree with. And since we don't really collectively agree on a lot of things, because you have class, you got economic status, you got, your environment, you got your life. It's just very unfortunate that me personally, I lose hope in the black community come together because we will always say we are not a monolith when it benefits us. But then we will also turn around and complain and sit here and say that we need to build our community, but we don't have a unified thought because if you read scripture, it says that a house divided against itself can't stand. And every time we try to stand together, we divided against ourselves. It's
Well,
unfortunate.
what would you say is one area? Well, one area that I can think of, but I'm gonna ask you that we are all unified around in terms of one. Because I look at one of the things that I guess being an American, but I would say specifically in a low affluent in a low area is money is a huge thing that I think most people would get around. And I remember, I forgot the name of the program, but it when I used to work for a youth bureau, when I had first got out of college, they started a program. It was called it was Nifty National something of entrepreneurs. It was something that had to do with entrepreneurs, and part of that program was working within in those communities and teaching them entrepreneurship. And it was a whole curriculum around that where they would end up having to go to like the clothing district or whatever way that they decided that they're going to try to become an entrepreneur and make money. So they would get a T-shirt or get socks or get something from that district where they had to create a plan, do all of the what are going to be the overhead costs, all of those things, and money was given to them, and then they had to see how they can increase that money. And so I think programs like that would help them become more self-sufficient, but at the same time learning how to run a business, learning about money, learning like those things, I think would do very well in a low economic area because money is a one of the top things on their list because there's a lack of.
But how
Miss
do we
Taken,
incorporate?
Miss. I was gonna say this real quick. I've done the mentoring programs like ACE, Down City Design. I've done a number of things, right? Especially working with high school kids who are looking to go to college, especially in the profession that I am. You know what I'm saying? And what I see in a lot of these programs is that I see a lot more girls participating than the boys.
Mhm.
Yep.
I did one side of the program, and I promise you, it was like 9 girls showed up and 3 boys. I was like, "Where's the
You
rest
know
of
what you need to do? Let me just tell y'all the real. This is how you get
them?"
kids in class. I'm sorry.
But we need the young boys there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I love it that the girls are there, but we also cannot leave our young boys behind.
So
You know,
why do
Let
you
me
think
say,
they're not showing up?
we had a huge debate about that on King Talk one night, and one brother from Chicago said that, well, I just think that you're not understanding how to relate to them. You know what I'm saying? Because I get it. I'm a little bit more polished, and I don't have the same sort of circumstances that a lot of these young kids who are trying to participate in these programs come up through. But there is representation there, and there is resources there. And one of the things that I try to, aspire to, and that I always work to, especially where talking to young people, I show them receipts about where I started. I show them receipts of the grind that I went through, and that it's possible. You know what I'm saying? You can do this. But I also try to focus and talk about them. What is it that you love, and what you are, and what are you interested in? Oh my God.
let me just say
Talk
this.
about a member and he pops out of nowhere.
That's what it was called. It was the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. And it
Let
was
me,
actually started by a teacher in New York City who was
you
teaching
know,
math, and he ended up leaving because he saw that one of his lessons is something that he did. It focused on money. What he realized is that the math had to be applied. So it was kind of like, oh, well, in this area, you see these things going on, and the kids was just able to spew out the math or whatever. And so he took that information and began to create a curriculum around teaching entrepreneurship, and that's how that program came to be. But I think that is something that could be like how you were saying, having Saturday school or something during the summer. That can definitely be a course that's done over the summer
I would
in those communities. Go ahead. I'm
let,
sorry.
let me say this, two things. That program, I think you would have more parent involvement. I think when you're talking about these kids, the parents are more involved in the younger years than they are in the older years. The goal is to get them in the younger years. Maybe have those programs available during the daytime when the kids are out of school because they want their kids to go somewhere, and not just be at home. That would be a great time to get in their ear. And plus, they're young enough to be taught. They'll listen. They haven't gotten to that point where they've got a hard head. They're going their own way. That's the time to get into their ear. One and two. When kids don't do right, when they go AWOL, when they act a fool at school, I think we need to start citing these parents.
So
Parent. Listen, if you start punishing a parent for something, you'll be amazed
I
at
actually agree. I
at
actually,
the
Yeah.
results you will get. If I
I
if a parent if my kid is acting the fool and I know I have to go to Saturday school or I'm gonna be cited, like I'm messing gonna come out of my pocket. Oh nigga, you better
already.
have your in school.
I want to get back to the question. I think I'm mistaken as you. I think the question. I want to re-clarify the question. Were you saying what do you think is a thing that Black people as a whole will unify behind or are
Right,
unified under?
right,
I think that I don't think Black people as a whole aren't unified by money. I think
Yeah,
Black people as a whole are unified by art, music, that thing. Because no matter what age, no matter what thing, we can all find one piece of music where everybody can sit here and say, "Yeah, that's all right." A lot of
well,
people would,
no, chaotic was just up here saying that
But he
certain
said
music
music, and not the same music, but he's
yeah,
just
it's
saying
music.
our music period, like music.
Yeah, but even though we have something that we might all gravitate to that we could probably
Mhm.
use, then we would run into the issue of how we think it should be. We we have different cultures, we have different likes, we have different ideas and stuff that we want. So then we introduce the next issue. Okay, we all like and agree with music. Yeah. Okay, now what should we do with this thing, right? And I think that the only thing that we can do is unfortunately what chaotic was saying, which is you have to have the people that are taking care of their kids, that are beneficial to society. We need to make more of the things that are good, whether it's a business, whether it's kids, family, communities. We need more of those to combat the things that are not good for our community. Because unfortunately, the things that aren't good for our community seem like they're being mass produced, whether it's through whatever system or whatever it is that's going on. Just like that's the hard part for me, that the solution is simple, but people make it complicated because, like I said, the most derailing statement that Black people make when trying to build anything together is that we're not a monolith.
But
Yet we
But
want
you
to be
said
together.
about the music, but even with the music, it doesn't typically they monetize that. Again, it goes back to money.